In the 35 years I've been in the workforce, I've seen a big shift in how we relate to our employees. We've moved from a transactional relationship to one where we look at multiple aspects of the employee's health, with things like gym memberships and even sometimes on-site gyms for the body, and mindfulness activities like meditation or breathing exercises for the spirit and the sense of calm. When we get the workplace right, it creates a symbiotic relationship where not only the employee's career thrives, but the company thrives as well. I'm actually a product of this. I've been a senior leader and C-suite executive at multiple 9 and 10-figure businesses. But I started out in the lowest entry-level engineering position my company had. One of the great things about our workplace today is we can talk about just about anything with our employees. Now, when I started out, we couldn't talk about mental health, depression, substance abuse, sexual harassment, or gender identity. But I believe the workplace is stronger today because we can talk about those and other complex topics with our employees. When you think about it, I think there's only one topic we can't talk about in the workplace today, and that's money. Money is the final taboo topic in the workplace. We teach people how to earn it, but not what to do with it to become financially successful. Why is it easier at work to say, I'm struggling with anxiety about the customer presentation, than to say I'm worried about retirement? I believe we're missing a big opportunity by not talking about money and wealth in the workplace. And it's actually a little bit bizarre that we don't, because we all have a relationship with money. Money's been a part of our society since the very beginning. Did you know that in the Bible, there are over 2,350 verses that talk about money or possessions? Now, that's more than there are about faith. That's more than there are about prayer. And that's actually more than there are about faith and prayer put together. We all have a relationship with money. May I share a few of my stories? When I was in college, I didn't have very much money. And neither did my grandparents. But they still sent me some every week in the mail. I can still remember on Tuesday mornings coming back after class and going to the mailboxes in our fraternity and getting out the envelope from Grandma and Grandpa. And inside was a letter from Grandma telling me what was going on with the family back in St. Louis. Some corny jokes from my grandfather. I mean, these were like dad jokes before dad jokes were even popular. I mean, something like, why did the golfer bring 2 pair of pants in case he got a hole in one? And $2. Every week, $2. And believe it or not, in the 1980s, that made a big difference in my spending money for the week. About 18 years later, I was getting divorced from my first wife. And we bought a house together, and she wanted to move out, and I wanted to stay in there. But to make that work from an equitable distribution of finances, I had to buy her out of her share of the house, which I did, but that left me in a really tight cash flow situation. In addition, she'd gotten like almost all the furniture and the other stuff in the house. So here I am in my late 30s, making really good money as an engineer, but I'm basically broke. And I don't have any furniture or anything in the house. That was a time, I'll admit, I had a lot more stuff made out of milk crates than anybody should ever have. We all have a relationship with money. But when we think about wealth and retirement, our thoughts become filled with stress and anxiety and fear. In the United States today, 70% of Gen Xers and 2 out of 3 millennials are worried, really worried about retirement. Now, it turns out that these fears aren't unfounded because we currently have a $7 trillion shortfall in retirement savings in our country. Now, to put that number in perspective, that's more than the United States federal government spent last year. I think we all know they spent a lot, right? But they're not just worried about retirement. They're also worried about missing out and being left behind. Is it too late to invest in Bitcoin or NVIDIA or AI? And they're worried about stagnation. Also in the United States, 2 out of 3 households lives paycheck to paycheck. And this is not just the low-income earners. 1 out of 3 households making more than $200,000 a year lives paycheck to paycheck. 200 grand, paycheck to paycheck. But the only thing we talk about at work regarding financial health is which of these 4 or 5 mutual funds you're going to choose from for your retirement plan. Or, you're going to put it in a Roth IRA or a 401k or some mix of the 2 of those. That's all we talk about. But as we know, and as we've seen from the data, these plans are often insufficient. And from a tax standpoint, they might not even be the right choice for the employee. Shoot, does the employee even know what they're investing in? Can I get a poll of the audience? Raise your hand if you have a retirement plan with some mutual funds in it. Just raise your hand. Okay. Now keep your hand up if you keep your hand up if you know what those mutual funds are, and you know what the expense ratio is, and how they diversify themselves, how much has to be kept in cash versus it. Yeah, right. So nobody knows these things. What we've done is we've created an abdication mindset where we put saving for retirement out of our mind. It's an unintended and unfortunate byproduct of payroll deduction for retirement savings. But abdication of our financial responsibilities is not healthy. And when we don't talk about money, our views on it become warped. We start to think of money as the goal unto itself. I just want more money. I want to make 100 grand, or I want to make $250,000, or I better get a 10% raise this year. What if instead we thought about money as a tool that can help us live our lives and achieve our dreams? And when we think of retirement, our views become twisted. Follow me in this model. Retirement today divides our life into 2 phases. The time when we're working, where we hoard money in a retirement plan, just keep putting money in month after month. You're not supposed to check the balance very often. And if the market goes down, somehow that's in your best interest with something called dollar cost averaging. And then when we retire, we take this lump sum that we've hoarded over all these years, and we hope that we die before that money runs out. Now, these are big problems. But imagine if part of the solution was a lot simpler than we think. Just talking about money and teaching about wealth in the workplace, where we're already set up to learn and grow. Now, you may ask, why the workplace? Well, it turns out that this not only benefits the employee, but the employer as well. Because employees under financial stress show an increase in distraction, absenteeism, and turnover. Now, I know this firsthand. When I was in my tight cash flow, milk crate furniture era, it's an era a lot these days, I remember going out for happy hour with a bunch of colleagues and coworkers. I was living in Northwest Florida at the time, and we were going to this bar. It wasn't very expensive, but had a little view of the water. And we're all sitting around a table, and we're talking about our projects and our strategies. And to tell you the truth, I don't really remember what we were talking about, because in my head, all I was doing was the math to see whether I could afford another beer before I ran out of money. Yeah, you bet I was distracted. I could have used that $2 from Grandma and Grandpa that night. And when employees are under financial stress, they make poor short-term decisions, like quitting your company to go work for the competition for only 10 or 15 grand more a year, because all they're thinking about is salary, as opposed to the real financial metrics that matter, like wealth and assets. So as we think about how to bring these ideas to the workplace, I'd like to offer 3 insights that can help serve as a foundation. First, I think we can all agree that basic financial literacy is a teachable skill. It's actually taught in many high schools today, which I think is fantastic. Second, this is less well known, that you can become wealthy in your career without having to quit and start your own business. Now, there are several famous examples of this, like football player Tom Brady, who made substantially more money on the field, his day job, than he did off the field from endorsements during his NFL career. Or business leaders like Tim Cook of Apple or Mary Barra of General Motors, both who, as employees, have become very successful financially. But here's the deal. There are many more people that have done that, become wealthy in their career. You just don't know about them because they're not famous, like Tom or Tim or Mary. And the third insight is that wealth creation is a teachable skill. We can use the strategies of entrepreneurs and investors, like smart, strategic use of credit, investing in real estate and private equity, strategic joint ventures and arbitrage, and tax optimization, a very big one, and asset protection. So I'm calling on all business leaders, whether your business is large with lots of employees or just small with a few, to ask yourself if it makes sense to use these insights to help your employees and to help you with employee retention. Because if it does, I'd like to offer some suggestions on how you might get started. First, you can instill a sense of ownership in your employees for their financial future and their financial success. No more abdication mindset, no more set it and forget it. Second, you can encourage a discussion of money and wealth in the workplace. Now, I'm not talking about proprietary things or sensitive things like, ooh, what's everybody's salary? Let's think bigger. Let's talk about wealth and assets, not just figures like salary. And third, you can provide access to training for materials on wealth strategies. As a leader who's probably pretty financially successful yourself, perhaps you'd like to serve as an example. You can be a Sherpa for your employees, sharing for them what you've done throughout your career. I know that would really help the younger generation. Or you can use some of your training budgets to bring in real outside experts on wealth creation. Now, when we do this, we're not just changing conversations, we're actually changing people's lives, and potentially a very large number of them. In the United States today, there are over 93 million professionals in the workforce. As leaders, we've helped them build and grow their careers. Now, let's help them build and grow a strong, solid financial future. And to me, that's leadership that lasts. Thank you.